We're back on the cruiser today. Got the head in town, it's getting looked at, and we got more dramas again. Since when I got the head off last week, I had a quick look at the pistons, wiped all the crap off, and it's hard to see there, but if you look right there and down there, it's a bit shiny because I scratched it with the screwdriver. The piston's cracked, and that's the same on all other 5 pistons. So did a bit of research and found out the 1HZs, because they're not built for the turbo, once you put one on, if it's not tuned properly, they tend to crack pistons because of the heat, and the pistons aren't strong enough to handle the pressure. The way to get around it is if you get hardened pistons, ceramic, and you get the conrods out of a 1HD, that lowers the compression and allows you to run the turbo without damaging your pistons or block or anything. So the engine's going to come out today and it's going to go in town. It's going to have a full rebuild. Yeah, so it'll be all new pistons, conrods. Hopefully the heads get sorted out and alright. So yeah, going to pull the engine out today. I'm going to pull the fuel pump off. I'm going to take that in and get that sorted too. So everything's got to come out, radiator's got to come out. I'll pull that exhaust manifold off, alternator, move the AC pump out of the way, all the fan and everything's coming off. Unbolt from the gearbox, and hopefully I'll get that out of the chassis today, and I'll be able to get that into town on Monday and get that sorted. So I'll rip into it and see how we go. Alright, so yeah, got the radiator out, fan off, got all the shroud and everything out of the way, got the alternator off, AC pumps zip tied up there out of the way, got the exhaust manifold off. I'm just going to leave the turbo in, that should be right, shouldn't be too hard to get the block out around it. It's only that engine mount there holding it in. Yeah, so now I'll pull off the starter motor on this side. Pull off a couple of little bits, so I'll probably take the oil filter off as well. Just disconnect all the wiring and this coolant hose up to the heater there. And then I'll be ready to undo the gearbox. I'm just going to leave the gearbox sitting in there on the back of a jack stand. And I'll just pull the engine away from it, and hopefully that will come out nice and easily and we'll be done. So yeah, I'll keep going with that. Alright, got everything done up top. Just gonna pull the last bolt out of the starter motor down the bottom, so I'll crawl under there and do that. And then I'll be right to undo the gearbox, pull the earth strap off the block there. Everything else is unhooked, and then I'll be right to undo the engine mounts and I'll lift the engine out. Hopefully that won't be too much of an issue, and I'll see how I go. Before I can go on doing anything else, gotta clean that mess up underneath. I don't really want to do it though. I'll just go like this. Not too bad. Can't complain, seeing as all I do is click. Alright, so I've got all the belly housing bolts on the gearbox undone apart from two. They're just holding it on there at the moment. Just got to undo the two engine mount bolts. I've got the engine crane set up here at the moment. So yeah, I'll undo those last four bolts and the engine will be ready to lift out, and I'll take the bonnet off too, get a bit more clearance, so that's not too hard. And yeah, it shouldn't take too long. So I'll quickly do that, and then the engine will be ready to lift out. Alright, I've got the engine out. Yeah, now I want to pull this crank pulley off. I've pulled off the pulley for the fuel pump. Then I can get the timer case off, and you need to pull all that off so you can pull the timing gear off for the fuel pump, and then you're able to pull the fuel pump off, because I'm going to get that overhauled as well. Just cause, yeah, I think you got to pull the front half of the power steering pump off as well, by the looks of things. So I'll rip all that off and yeah, get into the timing gears and see what it looks like. Right, got the timing case off. as well as the crank pulley, and well, it's not the power steering pump at the front there, it's a vacuum pump, sorry. So now what you need to do when pulling the fuel pump out is make sure that everything's lined up where it needs to be. So I don't know if you can see there, that is top dead center 1, I'm pretty sure. I'll just have to check. But yeah, there'll be a mark on each gear. So you can see there again. That's where that 1 will line up in between those 2 teeth there with the white paint on it. Yeah, they're the most important ones to get lined up. So yeah, once you've lined those up, you can pull this bolt out here, which goes into your fuel pump, and then you need a puller to pull all that gear off there, I'm pretty sure. So we'll have a look at that and see how we go. Alright, I've got the timing all lined up. So pretty hard to see there. If you look on the crank gear there and this large idler pulley, there's 2 zeros on this gear right here, 1 on this one. You need to spin them up until it lines up, and it should also line up with the 2 ones which are there, and the 1 on that tooth there, that's a medium between, that's on the fuel pump gear. And then I'm pretty sure once they're all lined up, that's right to come off. So we'll pull this nut, bolt off and put the puller on there and rip that off. So as you can see, the best way to get it off, put the puller on, put a heap of pressure on it, and give it a few whacks with a mash hammer or just a steel-ended hammer, and that'll shock the pulley off. The gear's turned a little bit there, but I've still got it sitting on there enough that I can just spin the pulley back around with the crank. I set the crank pulley back on, and we can get those tire marks lined up properly. Because that's where I've marked. If you could have the pulleys wherever you wanted, as long as you mark them to a spot you know, and then you put the pulleys back at where those marks are, the timing will be right. But I just did it with the actual marks that were there, just cause. So I'll just quickly turn this back around. That's pretty good there. That's where it should be. So now this pulley can come off for the fuel pump. There we go, it's off. So now we'll be able to undo the fuel pump on the other side there and pull it all through. Just want to make sure you don't lose your keyway. Just sitting this there. And when you get your pulley off, just give the bearing a bit of a once over. It's around the pulley. Make sure there's no damage on that or any movement. There shouldn't be if you look after your engine, but you never know. A little bit of dirt could have gone through. So let's give that a bit of a wipe down. Yeah, that feels alright. No sideways movement. Spins pretty freely. It might be hard to see there, but there's an O-ring around this bit of the pulley there that needs to be replaced. So we'll get a pick in there and we'll pull that out. Other than that, we'll take the fuel pump off now. Alright, so in order to get the fuel pump off, this is probably the easiest part about getting it off. See, there's a bolt, nut there, sorry, and a nut there. There'll be also one just there, which just goes into that bracket there. Just got to undo those, and that should slip out. Now, I'm not sure how easily you can see that. Those are timing marks for like lining your fuel pump up, which times the internals of it. I've timed it a couple of times over the last few months trying to get the timing right for it. You need to have them lined up with the marks on the back of the timing case there. You can make your own mark as long as you can line something up to it exactly where it comes from when you pull it off and when you put it back on. You can do that, then you shouldn't have to retime it because you need a special tool to do that. It's not very hard, but yeah, you just need a special tool. Yeah, so I'll quickly rip this fuel pump off and then that'll be pretty much done. Alright, got the fuel pump off. See there, I put 2 timing marks. There's white dots up there, that corresponds with the fuel pump. That's all off, and yeah, the engine's ready to go into town now, so I'll load this up, get it into town, and get it in there on Monday, and yeah, hopefully get this thing sorted. And probably going to cost both arms and both legs, but once it's done, and hopefully it runs like a treat. So yeah, hopefully the next video you see is me putting it back into the chassis of the ute, and yeah, happy days.